In this video, I'm going to show you how to build this simple porch swing made out of some fence pickets, 2x4s, and a little piece of a 2x6. And I'll have the build plans linked below in the description. I'm going to start off by cutting the pieces I need for the frame. We're going to have 4 2x4s at 14 inches, 2 2x4s at 14.5 inches, and 3 2x4s at 48 inches. And 2 2x4s at 23.25 inches with a 15-degree parallel angle on each end. Then we're going to add some pocket holes so we can connect the frame together. I'm adding pocket holes to both sides of the 14.5 inch pieces, and then the 4 14-inch pieces I'm going to add pocket holes to one end of each piece. And then we're going to add pocket holes to all 3 of the 48-inch 2x4 pieces. And this will be enough to get us started. And if anybody's wondering, this is the Craig 720 Pro pocket hole jig. I get a lot of questions about it. I'll have that linked below in the description also. But if you're doing a lot of pocket hole projects, it's well worth it. And here I'm going to put the sides together. I'm adding glue to the 14.5 inch 2x4, one of those pieces. And then we're going to use some pocket hole screws and connect it right to the 14-inch arm rest support pieces. I'm using 2.5 inch pocket hole screws, the blue ones, exterior coated ones. And then we're going to repeat the process and do the exact same thing to make the other side. And I'm using cedar 2x4s for this project. Actually, the whole thing's cedar. I'm going to have cedar fence pickets later on and a little piece of a cedar 2x6. You're only using about 5 2x4s. But if you want to keep the cost down, you can use pressure treated, as usual. Next, we're going to add one of the 48-inch 2x4s. We're going to pocket hole it right to the sides. This is going to be the front of the bench, using the exterior wood glue, Tight Bond 3 of course, and 2.5 inch pocket hole screws to hold that together. And once that's in place, we're going to flip it around and add another 48-inch 2x4 piece to the back side, using the same wood glue and screws. And once that one's in place, we're going to come back and sandwich the other 48-inch 2x4 in there right behind it. So it meets up nice and flush, tight on both sides, and we'll pocket hole that into place. Next, we're going to add some seat supports. There's going to be 3 of these. They're about 12 inches apart, using wood glue and pocket hole screws to hold those in place. I measured 12 inches from each end, and then the one that goes in the middle, I just kind of eyeballed it and stuck it in the middle. But those will give the fence pickets a nice resting point. Now for the backrest supports here, I'm just going to use some 2.5 inch deck screws to hold these in place. That 15-degree angle is going to sit flush on those sandwiched 2x4s. And the back angle is going to be flush with the last 2x4 facing outward. Once the frame's completed, we can start building the back of the swing. These are 2 2x4s at 45 inches and 2 2x4s at 15 inches. The 45 inches have pocket holes on each end, which will screw into the frame. And then the 15 inches have pocket holes on each side that'll screw into the 45-inch 2x4s. And then this middle piece is a 2x6 cut at 15 inches, just placed in the middle. And then we'll come back and do our X's, doing it the old-fashioned way. Actually, this probably isn't the old-fashioned way. This is probably the new way to do it, the easy way to do it. I'm just going to place them on the bottom and line them up, and then use a pencil to trace the lines and cut them with a miter saw. And then come back, add some wood glue. You want these to fit nice and snug. You can use pocket holes to help hold them in place if they're a little loose. I try not to do that as much. But yeah, nice and tight there. And then for the other part of the X, we'll do the same thing. Just trace our lines, cut it with the miter saw, and just glue everything in place. Hopefully everything fits nice and snugly. You kind of want to sneak up on your cuts until you get a nice fit there. It might take some practice. I've been doing this a while, so I got a good feel for it. And this is probably the hardest part of the whole build, is just doing these X pieces. Now to install the back, we're going to slide it into place flush with the front of those back supports, and then we're just going to pocket hole it into place. So there's going to be 2 screws on each side in each corner, bottom and top. I'm not using any glue here. I don't really think it's needed for this part. And if you can always replace the back if you want to. Now for the seat slats, this is going to be the front slat, and I'm tracing a 2x4 so I can notch out where the front of the swing is going to be, the front 2x4s, the armrest supports, and just using a jigsaw to do that. And now we can install the slats. You can see that one fits nice and tidy in there, and then I just kind of eyeball the spacing on them. These are 51 inches, and I'm just using 1-inch deck screws to hold everything in place. And I'm not using glue on this either. And then for the armrest, they're just 2x4s at 23 inches, using glue and 3-inch deck screws here to hold it in place. You could use a 2x6 or maybe a fence picket for the armrest if you want a little bit of a wider armrest. I think the 2x4s look nice on this swing, so that's what I went with. And then on to the other side, the exact same thing. The glue, the screws, just like that. And for the hanging hardware, this is what I used. I picked it up from Lowe's. It was like 35 bucks. Comes in a nice kit. And then I'm going to install some bigger eye bolts here at the bottom to hold the chain. I can't remember the exact size of these eye bolts, but I got some hefty ones for all the weight it's going to hold. I did this on both sides. Then I came back and drilled some holes through the arms to run the chain through. If I did this again, I would have done a little different. I would have made them further apart. But it worked out in the end, and this is our end result. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.